Love is our true divine nature, and our heart serves as the intersection of the spiritual and physical, connecting our soul with our body as the conduit for anchoring our divinity onto the earth plane. Embodying our divinity is the key to our ascension and to manifesting our highest destiny in this life. The teachings of the heart are alchemy. Join spiritual mentor and channel Jennifer Spor each week on a sacred journey to lift the veil to remembering your divinity and meet other beautiful souls who are living the path of the awakened heart. Hello, I have been taking a lot of space lately to contemplate, um, what is the most profound wisdom that I have to share with you all in this time. And as you know, a lot of the work that I do in supporting others is surrounding the living of being embodied in your truth. And that I have always believed and I feel in all the cells of my body is the greatest way that we can make a difference in this world, in service to others, in service to humanity, in service to other beings, and in service especially to this earth. Because when we are consciously living embodied in our truth through our physical reality, we aid in supporting the raising of consciousness of the planet as a whole. And so, what I am really feeling in my heart to talk about today is the loop of constant seeking and looking outside of ourselves for answers. When we initially awaken or we initially begin to remember the truth of our divinity, the truth of who we are, we have this intense feeling, right? And I've experienced this as well. I really felt this intense feeling of just wanting to absorb all of the information that was out there and all of creation and our universe and just all there was to take in. And that season of my life certainly served a great purpose in aiding me to hone in on getting clear on what I was really being called to. And but what happens after a while is that you reach a space where you know what it is that you're being called to. Yet you may continue to, want to take another course or to spend more time stepping back in isolation to integrate what you already know. And while there is a season for that, I also want to share another very profound truth with you, and that is that our current established society is built around constant seeking outside of ourselves for solutions. And so it is very important to understand when you have reached a point that you already know what your higher calling is. You already know what mission you're here to fulfill. And at that point, it then becomes a matter of not more integration or, you know, seeking of additional information or learning any other modalities. The answer to really moving the needle in answering your higher calling and fulfilling that work here is in allowing what you know to be your truth to become fully inhabited in your physical body and to live that truth through your day-to-day life and decisions. So essentially, your mission work, right? Your relationships, every area of your life dissolves. That separation dissolves because you are in your work, in your relationships, who you are in your life. That is the answer to moving the needle forward on your own path. And so, even if you haven't already noticed this, after you listen to this episode, just set an intention to notice, right? Just observe most of what surrounds you in the personal development industry and even in some spiritual circles. Uh, it is very much, for the most part, focused on catering to those folks who are still in a place of orienting to themselves, who are in a place of seeking. And what happens when you continue to stay in that loop of taking in more and seeking more knowledge and more experiences, that is exactly where you stay. And as I said earlier, although that serves definitely a purpose, for a certain time and season on someone's path, what happens is it is very easy to get stuck in that loop if you choose to stay there. So it is important to be really honest with yourself about where you are on your journey and what you already know about your mission work, your higher calling here. And when I say mission work and higher calling, that can mean a lot of different things based upon your own unique path. That could be being on a world stage, right? Building this huge empire of making an impact in the world, speaking on stages, writing books, all of that. It could be working privately with clients. It could be being a mother fully to your children. It doesn't have to be highly visible. It doesn't have to be on a world stage. Where the commonality lies is that you know in your heart of hearts, you know that you have been put on this earth. You are called to something greater, and that there is nothing more important than you honoring that calling. And you're now likely at a point where you've been on this journey of seeking for a while. And you may even be wondering, why is it that I know what I'm being called to, yet the needle isn't moving? And the needle isn't moving because you have not stepped into that space of conscious inhabitation with your physical body. So I just want to take a few moments now as you're listening to this, unless you're driving, of course, while you're listening to this, to tune in to your body now and tune in to your heart center and set an intention to connect with your soul. And trust what comes forward, asking what the next step is for you. So feeling into that, asking the question, trusting what comes forward. And it may or may not make sense to you, and that's completely fine. Just trusting what comes forward, and then beyond this episode, right? Just letting it marinate for you, letting it sit with you. And as long as you're setting an intention to be open to receive, the next steps will just organically become clear to you, right? Whenever we feel hesitant around next steps, it's usually because we are in our head trying to figure out what the next step is, right? And there is nothing to figure out because you already have all of the answers. And so, something else that is connected with this that is very profound that I want to touch on is the difference between living soul led and living in oversoul embodiment. Okay. So, for those who may not be familiar with the difference between the two, right, is it's become pretty streamlined over the last several years, especially in what living soul led means. You pretty much see it everywhere at this point, right? Living a soul led life, following your soul's calling. It is out there a lot more front and forward, especially over these last few years. Now, that's great, right? We definitely want to focus on living led by our soul, right? Because it has the answers to what expands us on our journey. It is the home of our intuition. And when you're living soul led, okay, this is the difference between soul led and oversoul embodied. When you're living soul led, you're tuning in, right? You're channeling your higher self, or you're tapping into your intuition as to where you are being led, and you're seeking to follow that. Your soul is a fragment of your oversoul. So your soul is specific, is this soul fragment in your current life, right, is specific to what you're here to accomplish and fulfill in your current life. Your oversoul is beyond that fragment. Your oversoul is your primordial I am being. It is your eternal being, the core of who you are, transcending all of the lifetimes that you lived and the soul experiences that you've had. That is all rolled up into your oversoul, into your primordial I am. And the key to moving the needle, which I mentioned earlier, of living fully embodied in your truth, is to become embodied in your oversoul, is to invite your highest self, your I am, to descend into your physical body. So, in personal development industry, right, in spiritual circles, in all of these spiritual spaces, we talk about ascension. But the key for you to move the needle, to live physically embodied in the truth of who you are, is to live embodied in your oversoul through your body. And I can feel the energies of those who are listening and watching this, kind of like That's something I need to contemplate. And definitely take whatever time and space that you need to. I would suggest that if you're not already in this space to take some space for yourself in stillness, to feel into your body as far as what that means for you. And then setting an intention to allow the highest frequency essence of truth, love, and sovereignty of your oversoul, of your I am, to come into your body through your heart. And in stillness, feel the sensation of that. Now, as I said, this is what will move the needle for you, and I suggest implementing a daily practice. It's only probably 2 to 5 minutes every morning, just setting an intention to be in stillness and inviting, declaring that you are your I am. You are the highest frequency essence of truth, love, and sovereignty of your oversoul, and asking your oversoul where it resides in your body. And you'll notice until you feel fully centered physically in your I am, you'll notice that it will descend more and more into your body and more fully into your heart center and your spine. And then beyond that, into all of the cells of your body. So, what happens when you really begin to live embodied in your oversoul? You are living embodied in your truth beyond concept. So a lot of people, and especially since we live in an information age, right? We have not lived in an embodiment age up to this point. And so a lot of people will hear me talking about this and say to themselves, oh, well, I already know what my truth is, and I already live in my truth. But do you live physically embodied in your truth? Do you know what your truth is? And do you live physically embodied in it? Many people only live their truth in concept or in intellectual understanding. So, what are some of the signs that you can look for that indicate that you are beginning to live embodied in your oversoul and your I am? You will feel less urgency in your life. Any urgency, any form of feeling behind or feeling pressure will dissolve in your day-to-day life. You will also feel very grounded and very present in the now moment because of that urgency dissolving. You will also become much more decisive. And you will also naturally become much more precise and feel much more in flow in terms of how you're approaching your relationships and your day-to-day life. Another sign is that anywhere, macro or micro, where you have been dimming yourself and showing up in a way that is less than who you really are, that will all go away. And it isn't that you no longer care right? About how you're showing up, let's say, in your relationships. It's that you're physically embodied in your truth. You're really clear in your sense of self. And so your body will naturally align with that, and you will feel no need, no desire or pressure or any fear around being too much for anyone, because you know that there is no such thing, that there is only the truth of you. So those are some of the things that you will experience. And of course, these shifts in your being translate into every area of your life, right? Your relationships, um, just your day to day, moment to moment living. And I do want to speak about those who are entrepreneurs, mission led women, who may also be in, any C-suite or higher level leadership roles in your career. This also will translate into your work, into your mission work as well. You will no longer feel like you have to show up a certain way in order to connect with your ideal clients or to connect with the people that you need to, connect with in whatever leadership role that it is that you may hold within a company as well. Uh, I am speaking to mission-led women, right? You're no longer going to feel the pressures of conforming to any kind of traditionally perceived business standards. And I want to acknowledge that these pressures exist in spiritual business as well. They exist in all kinds of business. Um, Again, you're listening to this, you've likely had a few of these experiences, right? Where you've worked with a coach or a mentor, or a therapist or some person, right, who has said that this is the answer. This method, this framework is the answer to what you desire, especially on the topic of finances and money. And while there are some best practices, uh, there is no one central way that works for everyone, right? In fact, the only one in all of my years of experience on my own journey of living my truth and in supporting clients is that it's to tune in, right, to the truth of who you are, what you're called to, and the answer is to live embodied in that. That is the one commonality, right? And that path looks different for everyone. So I really want you to take this in as, living our truth, right? It's something that we hear about, but it's not widely practiced in the context of physical embodiment. And that is the piece that moves the needle to change our world. For when each one of us stands in that truth, in that power, when each one of us lives embodied in our divinity, that helps the earth, it helps the world, and it creates a ripple effect beyond what our human aspect can possibly conceive. So, in hearing this, if what I've shared today resonates with you, and you're feeling resonant with support around really anchoring into that physical embodiment of your oversoul, I invite you to connect with me to explore private mentorship. And I will include a link for my private mentorship, Embodied Heart, in the show notes where you can learn more about what it is like to work with me. And you can also schedule a conversation with me, and I am happy to connect with you personally to support you in gaining clarity around your path forward based upon where you are on your journey. So I hope that all of what I've shared today really resonates in your heart. And I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. Thank you for listening to Path of the Awakened Heart. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or pathoftheawakenedheart.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about living with an awakened heart and navigating your ascension journey, visit me at jenniferspor.com.